why shareholder activism through proxy voting? Corporations have been able to externalize risks and costs on others for their own private gain. Environmental degradation, undermining of regulations, undermining of safety, securing tax policies that really benefit them and undermine the public fisc. And all of these things done on a large scale to the point where it really undermines our democracy and starts to establish a plutocracy. We used to have countervailing power that stopped this externalization of risks and costs. Unions, public policy, and other groups. But they have been buried under the resources, especially the resources that have now been unleashed with the Citizens United decision of the Supreme Court. And this is what we have to address. But we have a secret. And this was the one insight that I think many of us got in the early years. It's not their money. We own these corporations in our endowments, in our pension funds. And we have to exercise that ownership, and that's the key to the whole thing. Now, shareholder activism is imperfect. It's the first stages on a long journey, primarily to internalize these risks and costs that corporations put off on us, thus setting the right incentives to actually deal with environmental problems and these safety problems and so on. Many examples of proxy voting and resolutions that have been brought over the years in the environment, we have dealt with very specific issues of greenhouse gases, pollution, cancer-causing drugs, all kinds of things. And in many individual cases, we really helped the situation by bringing proxy resolutions. Many of these could be brought because they're win-win situations, that once when you stepped into that boardroom, once when the corporate managements were actually listening, the result was, actually, it's more efficient not to pollute. It costs less not to pollute. So there are lots of win-win propositions. But there are also a number of cases that aren't. And that's what we have to concentrate on. And also the transaction costs of doing this are so very high. We've also worked on a number of issues such as governance reform in corporations. One of the big revolutions that's occurred, and that's through foundations and a lot of the groups here, and public pension funds and Harvard Law School, is that we brought a series of resolutions that really changed the voting of boards of directors so they weren't staggered. They were all voted at the same time, which has created tremendous accountability within the system. But these are all tough issues, and we're dealing with them sort of one at a time, but we have more systematic issues that we have to deal with. And we're trying to deal with these with shareholder rights actions.